Inside Indiana Overtime. It's senior night, both for the 4 seniors, Will Sheehey, Jeff Howard, Taylor Ware, and Evan Gordon, and for us. We have been here 4 years now. Robby is graduating in May. I graduated in December, and we kind of, along with Victor Oladipo, and maybe not so much with Evan Gordon, just because he was only here 1 year, we kind of came up with these guys, if you will. Yeah, we did. Just to get this in the first minute here, IU lost to Nebraska tonight, and it was kind of it was 70-60. It was, again, the second year in a row where senior night got a little awkward because of a loss, and especially with Will Sheehey, who Tom Crean introduced him. He mentioned 2 or 3 times that Sheehey hates losing, and so Sheehey started his senior speech by saying, "I hate losing and I hate tonight," which kind of sums him up a little bit. But Sheehey is kind of the especially with Victor Oladipo gone, Sheehey's kind of the guy I think of with this class. Jeff Howard and Taylor Ware were there the whole time, but they were walk-ons. They didn't really, they weren't the 6th man of the year. Yeah, I mean, they didn't start every game this season, even though Jeff Howard kind of took on a larger role.
Started tonight.
He started tonight. He did. He and Will Sheehey, both as seniors.
That's what his second career start?
Mm-hmm. And second start of the season. But yeah, Robby, we were just kind of talking a little bit before this especially about Will. Especially about Sheehey, about what we kind of remember from him. And you told a funny story that we were both actually present for.
Yeah, just talking about how at the beginning of each academic year in August, IU has a Spirit Week type thing, and it culminates on, I think it's the Friday of that week. It's either the Thursday or the Friday. They get everyone together. Our freshman year is at Memorial Stadium. Yeah. Now they've moved it into Assembly Hall, but for us, we were at Memorial Stadium, and the men's basketball head coach, women's basketball head coach, football coach, and I think volleyball all got to speak. And so Crean gets up on the field and he says, "And I want you to meet your 2 newest classmates, Will Sheehey and Victor Oladipo." And they're coming down out of the bleachers. And Victor, is being typical Victor. He's sort of bouncing around, going crazy, stuff like that, very excited, smiling. And Will's just kind of lagging behind, just kind of walking, and Crean yells at him. He says, "Will, run down here, hustle." I thought that was kind of funny. It sort of epitomizes, I didn't really think about it back then, but it sort of epitomizes their relationship and who they are as people and what they've done here at IU.
Yeah, and because we didn't really know them at all.
No, I had no idea who they were.
Yeah, it's not like they were.
I didn't pay attention to recruiting.
No, me neither. At all. And I just remember during that, I was sitting with my friends, and Crean was saying, "This is Victor Oladipo. Look him up on YouTube. Yes. Remember that name, Victor Oladipo. Look him up on YouTube."
And I did, and he had
me
crazy
too.
highlights.
Me too. And so my friends and I were like, "Okay, let's remember that Victor Oladipo name, and then that other guy." And Will Sheehey has kind of his whole life has kind of faced that other guy label, where he is the 6th man, where he is, the kind of the hype guy. He is kind of the unheralded recruit in high school or whatever. And he's going to deal with that his entire basketball career, really. Because he's not...
unless he goes to Malta.
Unless he goes to Malta and tears it up like Derek Elston.
Doubles.
If Elston's killing it in Malta, imagine what Sheehey would do. But tonight it kind of culminated with Sheehey's senior speech, which lasted... I listened to the tape, and the applause for him lasted about 30 seconds, and the speech lasted about 50. And it was short. It was to the point. Some of us liked it better than others, I think. But I thought it was very effective for as short as it was.
That's just kind of who he is.
Yeah, it is.
It was very reflective of who he is.
It was very Will. It was very Will Sheehey. And we had this really fun thread on the board today about everyone sharing their favorite Will Sheehey memories. And the overriding favorite, I think, was his freshman year. Strangely, when he dunked over Melsan Basabi during the Iowa loss. They lost to Iowa. But Robby, explain.
Okay, so I don't remember at what point. I think it was the second half. I think the dunk came in the second half. But I remember I was sitting GA, so I was sitting right up over there.
I was in the balcony up there.
Almost point to where I was sitting, actually. And, Sheehey drives, and you see him take off. Literally, it was like just inside the free throw line.
Yeah.
And he goes against Melsan Basabi, who at that time, in those 2011, was still considered very, very good. He was a premier post player in the Big Ten at the time. And Sheehey, we knew that he could dunk, but Victor Oladipo, he was the dunker in the class. He was the guy who you came to the game to watch dunk. And so we knew that Sheehey could dunk, but not anything too special. He drives the lane, goes up, and throws down right into Basabi's grill. And it was awesome.
It was.
And everyone just looked at each other like, what just happened?
Yeah, that guy?
That actually happened.
Yeah.
And it was awesome. That's still, when I think of Will Sheehey, that's still the first thing that I think of, to be honest.
Right, and on the other hand, and I think that's what a lot of people see as kind of his moment. And the other one that people talk about, obviously, is when the game was tied against VCU late, tied at 61, and again it comes down to Oladipo and Sheehey. Oladipo drives, gets his shot blocked. Sheehey grabs it, whatever it is, 8 feet from the basket, and instead of pulling it out and making sure that Indiana gets the last shot, he just says, "Screw it, I'm taking this shot," and it's perfect. Swish, goes down. Indiana goes to the Sweet 16. Obviously, didn't win that Sweet 16 game, but it was just such a huge. That shot for me epitomizes everything that Will Sheehey was in the kind of brash. I'm going to take this shot and I don't care. I am confident. I know it's going to go in because he said that I think after that game where people asked him, did you think about pulling the ball out, taking the last shot, and he said, no, I knew I was going to make it. And it's very, very Will. It's very, very Sheehey, and so that's something that I don't know if this team is exactly going to have next year. I mean, it'll have Yogi Ferrell. He's not afraid to take a shot. He's not afraid to be that guy, that leader.
Is anyone going to flex?
Yeah, exactly.
After they're up by 40 against Purdue.
Yeah. I mean, people are not going to have a vulgar chants against Yogi Ferrell. I mean, he's just not he's not really a polarizing person. People like Yogi Ferrell. So it's just kind of that edge is going to be gone. And obviously the season isn't over. We still have another regulation game to cover.
And Will was quick to point this out.
He was. He said, "This is my last home game, but this is not my last game." If IU hosts an NIT game, of course, it will be here if they host a game, obviously. But there's still games left, and those games will not be the NCAA tournament in all likelihood.
Not after today.
Because that's the other side of tonight. Is just so many storylines tonight, both with the seniors and the postseason implications with this game, where Nebraska and Indiana were both kind of on the bubble. Nebraska maybe on the right side of it, Indiana maybe not on the wrong side of it. And tonight it just didn't seem like Indiana. There were spurts where they had, they went on like an 11-2 run to tie it at one point in the second half, but for the most part it just didn't seem like maybe there was that much intensity. I mean, did you kind of pick that up?
Yeah, it was so weird because was it after the Ohio State game that some of the questions about senior night started to crop up at the end of that press conference. And Crean said, we're going to be so ready come Wednesday night to play this game. And so I was expecting a lot of fire from Indiana, and they come out and it just seemed like it wasn't there. There wasn't a whole lot of fire.
Energy, the energy in the building wasn't maybe what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, no one really seemed that excited to be here, and I think it was reflected in the team. I mean, they got down 9-2 early, and they never recovered. They never led in this game at all. They never had any control.
No, and it was it was kind of like last year's senior night, where I thought that there was no way that class of Holes, Watford, those guys were going to lose on their senior night, and of course they did to Ohio State. And that was kind of it was not exactly a close game. You were pretty sure Ohio State was going to win, late in the second half there. And tonight, Nebraska, like you said, was kind of in control of the game the whole way. Walter Pritchford scores the first 9 points, ends up scoring 17. But weirdly, the game's leading scorer was Troy Williams. And he played really, really well. He was efficient from the floor. He was 7 for 12, hit both of his three-pointers, and he ends up with 18 points. He was kind of doing everything. I mean, he was knocking down shots. He was driving. So it was a side of Troy Williams that I think is very encouraging, for next year, for next season. But on the other hand, Sheehey and Farrell really did not have their best nights. Sheehey had his moments.
Especially Yogi shooting.
Yeah. Yogi Ferrell's 1 for 10 shooting the ball from behind the arc, which is his worst shooting night, except for in the season opener when he was 0 for 5. But really, neither of them, Sheehey hit a game-tying 3 to tie it, I think, at 52. but after that, Indiana was 3 for 18 from the floor and got outscored 18-8.
Well, and they had one possession where they actually got 3 offensive rebounds and missed all 4 shot opportunities.
Yeah.
That was sort of a clinching moment because I think when that possession started, I think there was like 1:55 left. And after Nebraska finally gained control of the ball, there was like a minute left. So they took almost a full minute off the clock and got 0 points from it.
Yeah, and they did really clean up the offensive glass really well in the last couple of minutes. But somehow just, it was kind of that problem that they had mid-season where they were getting to the rim but just not being able to finish. And it's just that, that's kind of one of the concerns of this team is that there have been problems that have just stuck with them all season. The turnover thing has been bad. The kind of the offense stalling at times and not getting very good movement has been something that's really plagued this team. But again, we'll see if they can kind of remedy those. Maybe make a little run in the Big Ten tournament. Really, I mean, the only way they can make the NCAA tournament is by getting that automatic bid by winning the Big Ten tournament. So that's going to be big. We're going to be there. That is not this weekend, but next weekend.
I'll be in Indy this weekend.
Yes, he and Ed are going to be in Indy tomorrow.
Yes.
Actually, Thursday.
Yeah.
Covering the women's Big Ten championship, tournament. And then I will be, on Saturday, I'll be in Ann Arbor for that game. And then the ensuing week, we'll all be in Indy hanging out together. So it's a really exciting time coming up, both with the men's and women's teams, kind of finishing their seasons, getting to postseason, whatever postseason tournaments they get into. So, we'll obviously have full coverage there. Spring practice also starts Saturday. This is an enormous weekend for IU sports, and we're kind of just going to be all over the place. So there's going to be tons of content, here at Inside Indiana. So keep reading, it's been a fun few days kind of leading up to senior night and the end of the season. So we'll get out of here. We've gone 12 minutes. I thought it warranted it, though. I thought,
it was fun.
Because we're in a very unique position to kind of analyze this senior class, which turned out much differently than I thought it was going to. I expected Victor Oladipo and Will Sheehey.
Did not expect Victor Oladipo to go as the number 2 overall pick.
No.
When he first came to Assembly Hall.
Right. No.
Pretty sure he missed his first dunk attempt.
Oh gosh.
He missed his first several dunk attempts, actually, if I remember.
Yeah, I remember him having. Yeah, he was a very different player then.
And now he's the NBA Rookie of the Month.
Yeah, that's true. Right on time. So we'll get out of here. It's almost 13 minutes. For Robby Howard, I'm Alex McCarthy, and thanks for watching.